I don't know who I'd pick if I had to choose between the Righteous Brothers and the Isley Brothers. Probably the Isley Brothers, I guess.
Well, I mean, that would put you firmly on the Pete Seeger side of the debate.
Yeah. Righteous Brothers aren't that bluesy, though.
No, but there's a pop appropriation to what they're doing to some extent.
Of course.
You know,
I just thought this was funny that I was trying to do something on Zoom and I hit a key and then in Logic it opened up a bunch of loop packs that I've never used before. And I'm just looking at some of the names, just 12-bar blues bass.
Nice.
Just a nice loop. I know, I wish I could see what that sounds. There's a lot of stuff here that I could really have a lot of fun. I've never even looked at any of this because,
Because when you play, listen, machines can't play the blues.
No.
You know?
This is good. Yeah. Acid test bass.
That makes more sense. That feels pretty machine-based.
Yeah. African
Acid
King
test.
Ensemble.
I'm not sure that that's something a computer should be doing necessarily.
Alien String Pluck.
That feels very much like a computer-based kind of Musk style. Like
I'm just in the
that's what you
A's
listen
here.
to in your Cybertruck as you blow it up.
Yeah.
You listen to loops from Logic called Alien.
God, they make it so easy for people to just make funky blues bass 7. God, there's a lot.
So that presumably
here,
there's 6 others.
Yeah, there are. Yeah. Wow, that's just New York horns. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
New York night piano. I like
Nice.
that one.
Yeah. I could open Logic.
Kind of
We could listen to a few of them, but I might have to download your blues.
Well, they're
packs.
not all downloaded, but I have these. I'm just saying the ones I do have that I've never even seen. Yeah, offbeat disco lead guitar. That's cool.
Nile Rodgers.
Offbeat. Yeah.
Nile Rodgers is playing Glastonbury this year. He accidentally told everyone already. He wasn't meant to tell anyone yet. And he told people.
Bummer. Like Neil.
Well, no,
Listen to this.
Neil's different because Neil's just being Neil.
I like this guy. It must be a Logic drummer, I'm guessing. Parker. Is he one of the Logic drummers?
I mean,
but
I
I like
wouldn't
something.
know.
He's clearly a very, because it's like Mop Top, Mercy Tunnel, The Cavern.
Okay, Beatles.
So he's kind of a Beatlesy
Ringo.
guy. Yeah.
He's Ringo.
If you want Ringo, you look no further.
Jerry and the Pacemakers.
Yep, pretty much. Backbeat.
Yeah.
Chelsea Boots, English Garden. That sounds nice.
English Garden, what would that be, do you think?
I don't know.
Zombies?
I'm terrified to click on it.
More of
But
a
there's also
zombies feel.
Sitting in an English garden, waiting for the sun. Maybe it's kind of I Am the Walrus.
Or like Tears Go By.
Yeah,
English
that kind of-
pastoral.
Chad and Jeremy, a summer song.
We were talking last night, we were texting frantically, as we often do. And as we've said before to anyone who listens to Impossible Way of Life, your bi-weekly rock and roll, mostly Beatlesy, but right now particularly Dylan-esque. I wouldn't want to use the word Dylanologists. I'll save that for the journalists and
Yeah, I
the
don't.
men, the powers that be, the kind of Nixon side of the musical podcast community. But, you know, you're listening to us sort of talk about it from the perspective of musicians. One of the takes that you and me had last night that I thought was great, when we were talking on the last episode about people within the Dylan lineage vocally, Knopfler, Petty, we decided perhaps the first one of great notoriety, because obviously there's a lot around the time, Donovan would be, you know, a prime example.
Yep.
Jagger.
Yeah, I've often thought about Jagger in that way.
Well, Satisfaction is a Dylan song.
Kind of, yeah. And the one I said, what was it? Oh, Let It Bleed, title
Yes,
track.
yeah.
Well, we all need someone we can lean on.
And
It's
lots of
very
beggars
Dylan-y.
as well.
Yeah, yeah. That when they do the kind of country honk kind of stuff, it's a bit Dylan-y, you know.
Honky
and
tonk women.
Exiles, yeah, some stuff on Exile as well.
But
and I always thought was
pretty much a
interesting.
reggae band, I think.
who?
Stones.
Yeah.
Anyway, what do you think was interesting?
Oh, that I used to think it'll be interesting because we might be having Jonathan Rado on the show.
Can't wait.
And when I used to listen to that Foxygen record a lot, there's a song on it called No Destruction.
Yeah.
That I always thought was the Foxygen singer kind of doing Jagger doing Dylan.
Yes.
A little bit.
Meta.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that Foxygen record is pretty meta. That
it is,
one.
yeah. But I thought it was cool.
One.
I was like, oh, it's kind of Stonesy, but like Dylan-y. But like maybe they already knew what we're talking about now, you know.
I think we probably did. They seem like wise people. But also, once you're in the sort of pantheon,
yeah,
you know, I was thinking about this since I've been on a real Dylan kick since seeing the movie. Mm-hmm. It reminded me of friends of mine when I was younger who were very Dylan-centric in their approach and fashion and stuff. And actually how much I realized, particularly after reading this Elijah Wald book, apologies to Joanna Samuels, who we were going to book club it, but I just kind of raced through it, so I don't know what's happened there. But it really got a bit between my teeth. Kind of read it as if I was on a bit of a sort of Kerouacian Dylan speed journey, you know?
Yeah.
A lot of my friends, I realized from that era, were doing Dylan even more than I realized they would do. They were so immersed in Dylan, you know? They had the suit. They had the blues references, you know? It was really about Son House. And, you know, McDowell and Hurt, you know? That's really who it was about.
Yeah.
And I think when you're in it, you know, the music of it, so maybe this is with Foxygen too, there's like a slight awareness and irony that you're imbuing on the music, but I also think you're just like in the conversation, and it's just like, you know, I remember, you know, I used to try and sound like Stephen Stills vocally, you know.
Well, you've often said he's your favorite singer of all time.
Oh, I say it all the time. Yeah. It's hard to understand.
It's not a bad take. Really.
Well, it's hard to, you got to remember as well, like that things in the early 60s, the way music worked, mostly because of, I suppose because of the folk revival movement, the Seeger, you know, who really ushered in that with Baez and stuff post, like, you know, the Weavers and Peter, Paul and Mary after them, who were more like of a pop version. Or the Byrds, for example. Like, the Byrds were doing Dylan, but Dylan loved the Byrds. Like, it wasn't like, oh, they're doing, I mean, we know he loves people who do him traditionally, but like, they were doing it inspired by that music, and they were kind of reinterpreting it, which you could say is the same thing that Foxygen record was doing, but we see it very differently in the 21st century as kind of like imitations are not adding to the conversation. They're more just kind of imitations, and there's a saccharine element or a satirical element to it, but I don't know if there necessarily has to be. Sometimes it can just be an interpretation. That's why we give Donovan such a hard time in the Pennebaker movie, because he's just doing Dylan in front of Dylan, which kind of feels trippy to us.
At least for Donovan, he did get more Donovan-y. He
became Donovan-y.
Yeah,
but also at the time he was loved too. Like, he was at Newport and he was a fucking star. Like he was, because it wasn't just about the music either. It was like he was super fashionable. Like, he looked cool.
Yeah, he was more like you know, 60s flower power. He was more 60s. Flower power than Dylan. So people were quite into that, obviously.
Well,
early on. Yeah, you're right.
It's the Beatles.
Yeah.
It's the Beatles. It's a world post Ed Sullivan Beatles that we're
Donovan had no shame in being psychedelic in his music. Like, lyrically, it's like Wear Your Love Like Heaven, and like, you know, he's
Boo Boo Barabajaggle.
Yeah, colors and yellow is the color of my and
Ricky
obviously
Tikki
hurdy-gurdy. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it gets psychedelic. Obviously, mellow yellow.
Mellow yellow.
Like, it's like
hurdy-gurdy, man.
electrical banana. He's kind of like, he's all into it.
Oh, yeah.
So
That's
and
later, I
that's
think,
fine.
though, no?
Well, yeah, of course.